for this flat bow when we had it on the scale. So it's about 20 pounds at 15 inches. We multiply that by 10. $200. When we tested that breaking strength of the linen thread, we got about 35 pounds. For making a string from this, for the string to be safe, the minimum you would want would be 6 strands. So write that out. 200 pounds equals 6 times 33 pounds. So the 6 equals the number of strands. 33 pounds, that equals the strength of one strand. That was for linen up here, linen. This particular type of linen, right, was about 33 pounds. When we tested the gut had a breaking strength of over 100 pounds. So we come down here with gut. The gut was over 100, probably over 110. I mean, it broke the scale, which was crazy. So really, that's pretty easy. That was 200 pounds would really be equal to 2 strands. I would still make that 3-ply like we did in the previous video. Okay, for the dog bane, for those of you guys that were wondering where I went for the dog bane bowstring video, here's where we're at on that. Here's the dog bane bowstring that I have currently. It fires great. It's relatively thick, but this took a lot of time to 2-ply twist, right? But it has low stretch. So this has 7 strands inside of it, 7 individual strands, and it's an endless loop style string. And the eye is reinforced, and this eye is a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit more abrasion resistant because, for one, it's reinforced with more strands towards the bow, like we showed in the linen and the gut bowstring video. I showed exactly how to do that. It's no different on this style string. And it's reinforced with sinew. You could also probably use buckskin or some type of really fine leather. I know old books refer to like glove leather being used, but that's going to be a little bit more abrasion resistant. Would I go with this all the time? That's what's interesting about the dog bane, is I don't feel like I was in the peak season. So I was a little bit later for collecting it. The gut, absolutely. I would go the gut any day of the week. The linen, I would go all the time. I shoot a lot of linen bowstrings. The dog bane's not bad. With the dog bane, what I did was collected the fiber and separated it from the stalk. I didn't do a ton of combing, but what I did do is a lot of 2-ply twisting. So all of these strands are just a 2-ply twist, and then the string is laid out in endless loop. We'll come back to the dog bane string in a second. With sinew, Here's a handful of sinew strings that I have. What I typically will do with sinew, and I would say for time, definitely the most time consuming was the dog bane. Where dog bane would come in would be, you know, if you were really in a survival situation and maybe hadn't killed a deer yet. It's the same with nettle. I'm still experimenting with the nettle fiber, but there you can see these aren't overly bulky and they're waxed. They've got a wax and pitch blend on it for the sinew strings. Typically what I like to do for the sinew strings is, because it's really hard to tell the breaking strength, right? It's easy in something that is going to be laid out like the linen or the gut, right? That's a single strand that we can test. We can test its breaking limit, and then we know how to apply that, right? If it breaks it, if it's rated for 33 pounds or it's rated for 100 pounds like the gut. For the sinew, there's really no way to know or tell. So it's incredibly strong. So what I like to do is take the back sinew and I will separate out the fibers, and I will keep my absolute best, the best of the best fibers that I have for the sinew together, and I'll bundle it. And how I like to lay this out for a bow so that my strings aren't getting overly massive, because the downside to the sinew is that it's heavy and it stretches. Okay, so what I'm looking at when I do sinew and how I try to factor that, in the case of this bow that weighs, this is going to be for the minimum, right? So that bow weighs 50 pounds, give or take. Let's just say it's 50. It's a 50-pound bow, right? What I like to do is dry process that sinew out, save my absolute best bundles or my absolute best strands. I will dry weigh that. I'll dry weigh the sinew right before I ever spin it. And so for a 50-pound bow, I will do half that bow weight. So it'd be 25, right? It's half of 50 and then a 0. That's 250 grains of sinew, right? So that's gonna be my minimum safe working load, about 250 grains of dry weight sinew. And that's only the strongest, longest fibers that I have, right? That's how I do my sinew strings. If it was 60 pounds, if it was a 60-pound bow, it would be 30, and then add a 0, 300 grains. Okay, and that I feel like is a safe working load for the sinew. I have made some that are much thinner, so let's take an actual look and know that adding the wax adds weight. So this bundle of sinew here that I've got saved out, let's just see what we have there. That much sinew is about 277 grains. So that would probably be, I'd probably feel okay with that for like a 55-pound bow. So that also gives you an idea of how much you need to process. Like, how much sinew will I need for a string? Well, you need to process a bunch of sinew and save the best stuff that you have. So that string weighs 240 grains, and you can see the diameter there. So I'd feel comfortable with that. I've shot that on that 50-pound flat bow, so it does pretty good. Here's another one. That one weighs 288 grains. That one, you know, then again, 55-pound bow. pushing to a 60-pound bow. And the length makes a difference also. So I'm talking for what I like to shoot. So also keep this in mind. When I give these measurements, this is because I shoot bows that are 64 to 68 inches long, right? That is what this applies to. That's very important. It's for bows that are about 64 to 68 inches long. Here's our last one. That one weighs 312. So the Sanu is fairly heavy, and like I said, that's the best idea I can give you, is process a lot of it, dry spin it out, and go from there, and watch other videos about how to do 2-ply twist. You can also experiment with, as you're spinning this, you can lay this out in a 3-ply twist. It's exactly like when you are laying a Flemish twist bowstring, and it is going to come out a little bit stronger. You can 3-ply twist this right off the bat. Now I'm going to show you that. Okay, there's nothing wrong with 2-ply twisting your Sanu bowstring. So you guys all know what that looks like, right? There's a ton of videos out there. That's 2-ply, okay? I would recommend, as you're spinning this, a thickness about like that before it dries down is good. That's going to give you a finished thickness after it's dry, probably close to that. So there are 2 strands per bundle there. 3 is probably even more ideal. So this has all just been chewed up here. So what that's looking like, you can watch, there's a lot of other videos out there. I'm not going to go through all of it, but there's three strands per side, right? Three strands, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. So that's really like a 6-ply cord, even though it's going to be 2-ply cordage. So there you're 2-ply twisting it, right? And that looks, to me, that looks about perfect, because this is going to shrink a lot as it dries and you'll hang weight on it. What you can do is, just like you're making a Flemish twist string, you can see that I've got 2 strands. The strands start out, when they're shredded out or separated, that Sanu looks about like that. And I've just wet it. You can soak them. I'm chewing them right now. I'm chewing one to show you how to do the splice. But if we were building a bowstring, you can 3-ply twist this, just like if you were making a Flemish style string. Okay, so I have 3 bundles. Instead of just 2-ply twisting it, I'm going to twist the furthest one away, over, over. Furthest one away, over, and over. Furthest one away, over, and over. That's going to be a little bit stronger than your 2-ply twist. It's going to make a nice round cord. Is it absolutely necessary? No, you can 2-ply twist it. It's just something else. Talking with Sanu in my mouth, and just something, yeah, just something else for you guys to try if you haven't tried this. You can even do the exact same thing if you want with 4-ply, but as you can see here, it's going to look just like a Flemish twist string, if you guys are used to seeing that. Okay, looks just like a Flemish twist section right there. Those of you guys that don't know, if we were making this Sanu into a bowstring, I'm just going to show you guys, if you don't know, Okay, so I started mid-strand like that, and I would just go long enough, like I'm gonna show you here. I would just go far enough to where I had made my eye. So I'm forming the eye right now. Just in case there's any of you guys that are new to this out there watching this and you haven't made any of these strings before, or you haven't seen any other videos on making these, we're just gonna throw this in here because I'm gonna be covering a lot of other endless loop laid stuff. You could do this with any of the fibers that you wanted to. You could do it with the dog bane. Right here's the hardest part. You're gonna separate your strands back out. See how I made enough to form my eye there, and that'll all stretch out, but I'm going to match all these fibers back up. Okay, so where there's 2, 4, and 6, like right there's 2, they're going to go with these 2. It's the hardest part of the whole thing of making them. So those 2 will get twisted together. These 2 are going to get twisted together. These 2 are going to get twisted together, right? I'm going to make sure everything stays tight. So all essentially you did was take all of the bundle strands into one super bundle, right? And you just keep twisting like this, over, 3-ply, over. If it's a little bit uneven, that's okay. As this is stretched out and this dries down, it'll look a lot better, but you're going to want to hang that from a weight. Now as these taper out, that's what you're going to want to do, is keep taking these until they taper out. Okay, so I've twisted down with my eye, and you can see that those bundles are starting to taper out. And right here, this bundle side is getting a little bit thinner, and this side is thinner. This one's the heaviest. So this one and this one are thinner. What I'm gonna do to bring a new one in, twist, twist. Okay, just like that. Right there's my thin one. I'm gonna re-wet it just a little bit. Just in my mouth. Oh, it blipped that. And I've got another strand that I've been chewing. So I bring it out from chewing it, straighten it out. And it's just like when you're doing 2-ply, okay? All I did was lay that right in there. Hopefully you can see that. I just laid it right in there. Okay, one side I've got trailing down a little bit longer than the other. And whenever you want to lay a new fiber, that's all you have to do. It doesn't matter that some's going one way. It's definitely a lot stronger if you fold it in half like that. So I just added a new fiber in, and that's what you do all the way down the length of the string till you have your string. It'll be a little bit shorter, you know, or maybe do it close to the length of the bow. And you're gonna hang a weight off the bottom of it. You can hang anything you want. A lot of times I'll hang a bucket full of rocks, something like that, but that's how you spin your sinew strings. And it just takes time to get used to what looks right for diameter. And like I showed, that's the 3-ply twist, Flemish twist style. A lot of these are just 2-ply. Either way, no big deal. And you'll figure out what diameter you need to spin them, but I find it really helps to dry weigh the material like that beforehand. and then I know about how much I need to spread out. So that covers sinew. You're gonna stretch this until it totally dries out, and it's gonna stretch, stretch, stretch. You're gonna really put weight on it and try to get as much of the stretch out of that as possible, because this kind of acts like a, and you can see me stretching it now. You can see that, you know? See that? That kind of acts like a coil spring. The more twisting that you have in there, the more stretch that these bowstrings have. Okay, so that covers the sinew string. With the gut, you could do the exact same thing, but I like it in an endless loop style, and then at the end of the endless loop, I do put a little bit of twist in it. You know, and I showed you guys how to do that. Here's the cool thing with the gut. So I gave you the weights, and if you wanted to take notes that way, this kind of brings us down to the end of what we're talking about. It's hard to quantify the strength of the sinew strings. They're very, very, very strong. This is 3 strands laid in endless loop fashion for the gut. And we know that each strand of gut tested over 100 pounds. Here's what's really cool about the gut and why I'm really liking it. 162 grains. It's so light. It's so strong for its mass, and that's what you're after, right? It's so strong for its mass. A lot of the mass of the dogbane string, okay, a lot of the mass of the dogbane string is actually in the eye of the string because it's double reinforced. You know, it has another 3 strands running inside of here, just like we showed in the linen bowstring making video. So it's beefed up by 50% inside the eye. So the eyes alone of this dogbane string, just the eyes, there's one eye and then the other eye. Just the eyes alone are 120 grains of this string, okay? Just the eyes. But the main body of the string, where it really matters, right? The main body of the string that really has to go, like in the center, is really where it's having to accelerate, right? It's really, that's what the bow is having to push. It's having to push the whole thing, but that's where it really has to accelerate. Let's measure that. So I haven't measured that, and that makes me kind of curious to see what just the body, if I can measure it without the eyes, which is not that possible. It's kind of difficult. Okay, so just the main body of that string, that makes sense, weighs about 175, 174. The total string for the dogbane, to make it within the safe zone, it did come out a little bit heavier than what I wanted, but it's better to play it safe. Okay, so yeah, the whole string is about 270 grains. You know, not the end of the world, but it's heavy. I'm really liking how light the gut is. And a real star performer is the linen string in the 6 strand for the 50-pound bow. The linen string, super easy to make. Anybody can make it. Anybody can get the material. You guys see that? That weighs 162.6. Wow, that's the lightest string up there. Very, very strong for its mass. Why that matters, and I've talked about this before, why the mass of the string really matters, what we're getting at with that, okay? You want the lowest stretch material that you can get. It needs to have the lowest stretch and the highest strength. So far, lowest stretch, highest strength that I've found personally is the gut, and linen is also awesome, and sinew's not bad. What you're getting at, so for string strength, right? We've got that up there, we covered that. The relationship between the mass of the string and how fast your string is gonna shoot. Every 20 grains of string mass equals 1 foot per second. Really take that in for a second. Every 20 grains of string mass is going to equal 1 foot per second. What that also equates to, every 1 pound of bow weight is going to equate, give or take, to about 1 foot per second. Okay? So if 20 grains of string is the equivalent of 1 foot per second, it's kind of crazy to think, you know, this linen string is 100 grains less than the dog bane string. Right? They're both close, and you can see them, you can just see the difference. This dog bane string weighs about 100 grains more. So that's going to translate, when you divide 100 by 20, you get 5. So just on the same bow, with everything else being equal, this linen string is going to shoot about 5 feet per second faster than this dog bane string. Now, some of this was in the 160s, right? I've had sinew strings easily for 60-pound bows weigh over 300 grains. So if you're starting to get into that with the heavier bows, I would definitely go for the gut, because this has, you know, that 300-pound breaking strength. This is, the 3-strand gut is going to handle any bow. I'm just telling you that right now. 3-strand gut's going to handle any bow. You're good to go. You can Flemish twist it. You can spin it up however you want. You can do it how I showed with the endless loop lay, with a little bit of twisting in it to keep the fibers from pulling away from each other. The sinew, when you start getting into those heavier bows, the sinew is going to weigh probably 300 grains plus. So you can see some of these strings that are half of the weight. I've had some go all the way up to 500 and 600 grains for heavy bows. So it's super beneficial to be shooting some of these strings that, for their mass, are stronger. Could you get away with making, you know, the lighter sinew string? Sure you can, right? You're always going to be kind of testing your luck when you're going on the low end, but what I've been trying to show you guys today is what you really want to shoot for to be in the margin of safety. So I hope that you guys appreciated the video. I hope that you liked it. I hope that you got something out of it today. I hope that you learned something. And if you guys dug this and like this style of video, please just drop a comment, and please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thanks.